For millions of children, Toys R Us wasn't just a toy store. It was where birthdays began, where Christmas dreams came true, and where kids could spend hours imagining everything they wanted to be. Walking through those automatic doors felt like entering another world. Bright colors, endless aisles, and toys as far as the eye could see. But in 2018, the company that had become a part of childhood for generations shut its doors. So, how did the world's most famous toy store disappear? This is the story of the rise and fall of Toys R Us. Long before Toys R Us became the largest toy store in the world, it began with a single idea. After returning home from serving in World War II, Charles Lazarus noticed something changing in America. Families were growing, more children were being born than ever before, and parents needed places to buy everything their babies would need. In 1948, Lazarus opened a small store in Washington, D.C., selling baby furniture. At first, business was steady, but he soon noticed something surprising. Parents rarely came back after buying a crib. Once their baby furniture was purchased, they had no reason to return. Then he had an idea that would change everything. Instead of selling products parents bought once, why not sell products children wanted all year long? Toys! It was a simple idea, but it would become the foundation of one of the most successful retail chains in history. By the 1980s and 1990s, Toys R Us had become more than just a toy store. For millions of children, it was the most exciting place they could imagine. Walking through the front doors felt like entering a world built just for kids. Endless aisles stretched in every direction. Shelves were packed with action figures, dolls, board games, bicycles, and the newest video games. Geoffrey the giraffe welcomed families through the entrance, becoming one of the most recognizable mascots in America. Every birthday, every Christmas, every trip to the store felt like an adventure. Parents came to buy gifts, children came to dream. At its peak, Toys R Us operated hundreds of stores around the world and became the largest toy retailer on Earth. From the outside, it looked unstoppable. By the late 1990s, Toys R Us had become the undisputed leader of the toy industry. It wasn't just another retailer. It was the place parents went when they wanted the biggest selection of toys anywhere. Children knew that if a toy existed, Toys R Us probably had it. The company expanded across the United States and into countries around the world. Hundreds of stores welcomed millions of customers every year. During the holiday season, parking lots were packed. Shopping carts overflowed with gifts, and checkout lines stretched across the store. Toys R Us had become more than a business. It had become a tradition. For many families, a trip to Toys R Us was part of growing up. From the outside, there was no reason to believe its success would ever end. But while Toys R Us celebrated its dominance, a new kind of competitor was quietly changing the way people shopped. As online shopping became more popular, the retail industry began to change. More families were buying products without ever visiting a store. Companies like Amazon were making shopping faster, easier, and more convenient than ever before. But Toys R Us faced an even bigger problem. In 2005, the company was purchased in a leveraged buyout by a group of private equity firms. The deal left Toys R Us carrying billions of dollars in debt. Instead of investing in new stores, improving its website, or competing with Amazon's growing online business, much of the company's money was being used to pay interest on that debt. As the years passed, competitors continued investing. Walmart expanded its toy selection, Target attracted more families, and Amazon made buying toys online easier than ever. Toys R Us wasn't just falling behind, it was running out of time. By 2017, the weight of Toys R Us debt had become impossible to ignore. The company was losing money, competition continued to grow, and fewer families were visiting its stores. In September 2017, Toys R Us filed for bankruptcy protection. At first, many hoped the company would recover, but the financial problems continued to get worse. Suppliers became hesitant to ship new inventory. Shelves that were once filled with the hottest toys began to look emptier. Customers lost confidence. Sales continued to decline. In March 2018, Toys R Us announced it would close or sell all of its stores in the United States. For millions of families, it felt like the end of an era. As stores prepared to close, millions of families made one last trip to Toys R Us. Parents who had once visited the store as children returned with their own sons and daughters, knowing it would be the last time. Store shelves that had once been overflowing with toys slowly emptied. The familiar sounds of excited children were replaced by liquidation announcements. Employees who had spent years welcoming families were saying goodbye to the customers they had come to know. Jeffrey the giraffe, the smiling mascot who had greeted generations of children, suddenly became a symbol of something many people never thought they would lose. By June 2018, most Toys R Us stores across the United States had closed their doors. For millions of people, a piece of childhood disappeared with them. The story of Toys R Us isn't simply about a toy store that went bankrupt. It's about what happens when even the most beloved companies stop adapting to a changing world. For decades, Toys R Us gave children unforgettable memories. It built one of the most recognizable brands in retail history. It became a destination that families looked forward to visiting. But while shopping habits changed, and online retailers transformed the industry, Toys R Us struggled under billions of dollars in debt. By the time the company tried to catch up, it was already too late. History has a way of repeating itself. The companies that survive aren't always the biggest. They aren't always the most recognizable, and they aren't always the ones with the strongest memories. The companies that survive are the ones willing to evolve before they have to. Because in business, the greatest threat isn't always the competition you can see. Sometimes, it's the future you refuse to prepare for. And sometimes, the things we think will always be there aren't. After all, hindsight is 20/20.